still a fan even though it's salty. Hate to see you with some other brother, you happy. Hate to see you happy if I'm not the one driving. I'm so unsure.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Now if you hear something in the background, don't mind it, it's the heater. We're getting toasty tonight. Today we're going to be going over the car buying process. You called, so they sent me. I'm about to break down the process as much and as simple as I can. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the description box down below. I'm going to be breaking this video down into steps. We're going to have steps 1 through 8 from start to finish. How to buy a car. Is seeing how much you could afford. This is something that people usually wait later to do. They get too excited and want to start looking. Now this is something that ideally you already know, like as far as like, you know, you're a millionaire, you want to buy like a $20,000-$30,000 car, but you'd be surprised depending on what your expenses are and everything you got and what you owe, you might not even be able to afford that. So that's why you need to start with what you can afford first. Whether you're paying with cash, whether you're planning on financing, this is just something that you need to know. You eliminate the chances of you getting your hopes up and being let down by your own finances, okay? I'm always going to suggest for you to lend through a credit union. They're not like commercial banks. They usually have the lowest interest rates as well, so that's just something to consider. When buying a car and spending this much money, you want to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck, and that's definitely getting a low interest rate when it comes to financing your vehicle. Step 2. You're going to want to apply, aka hard credit run, aka proof is in the pudding, because numbers don't lie, people do. Okay, applying for your car loan, I suggest that you do it online. At least if you do it online, you have time to think. You could save and go back, I believe. As far as your application, you're going to need to know a couple of things. Some of those key things you might need to know, I'm about to tell you right now. You may need to know your social security. You're going to have to know how much you make, and it can't be a number you make up in your head. You need to go pull out a pay stub or a paycheck and see how much you make. If it's consistent, if not, you need to know that number. I believe they ask you how much you make before taxes, so that's another thing to consider as well. And of course, you know, your before tax rate that you make is great, it's amazing, but don't go based off that number. You have to use your own common sense to know exactly what you can and can't afford. Do not pick a car over food or shelter. The car could wait. After you fill out all that good stuff, you should get a notification in your email. So that email should include a smart approval certificate. So that's something that is for your records. Not once have I ever had to provide to the dealership to be like, hey, this is what I was approved for. Basically, that lets you know what you were approved for as far as your loan goes, because in the loan application, you're going to select how many months of the length of your term of paying the loan back you want it to be. Me personally, I selected 72 months. I don't plan on taking the full 72 months to pay off my car. Ideally, I would like to pay my car off this year. On that certificate as well, whatever that max amount they say you're approved for, you want to spend under that. You don't want to max it out, because let me tell you something. Let's say, oh, you're approved for $70,000 for a car, right? You're not going to go pick the car that's $6,999, because that's not including taxing and licensing. That's not including any warranties you might want to add or any other things you might want to add. If the bank said they're going to cover you for 70, that's it. Ain't nothing more that they're going to cover you for. So don't go picking the car that's right at 70 unless you have another however much money to pay. But this is when it's going to get tricky, because in this application, if you told them that the car you wanted to buy was $50,000, right? Just making up a number. And you said that you would put $10,000 down. So now it's going to be $40,000 that you're technically borrowing. They're of course going to include taxes, licensing, all that stuff, but this is just an estimate. So then let's say they come back like, okay, you're approved for $50,000. And then you get excited and you're like, ooh, I can go buy that $48,000 car that I want to buy. No. Whatever you promised the bank on that application, you have to fulfill. Whatever you promised the credit union as far as your down payment, you cannot come in any less than that. You can come in more. They'd appreciate that. Anything less, if you only have $10,000, you don't have more than $10,000. The bank's only gonna spot you $50. So what are you gonna do? So that's why I always suggest you definitely picking something under the amount that the bank approves you for. It shows that you're financially responsible enough to not max out. The loan rate, which is the percentage, aka APR, that is your principal costs. To break it down, if you've heard people talk about principal, let's say I'm borrowing $40,000 from the bank for the car, the principal is 3 point something something, and let's say overall principal interest is going to be like 5,000 something. That's not real numbers, I'm just making up stuff that's not real, but I'm just giving you an example of what that principal rate is, and that's usually what you want to pay down. If you want to pay the car off, you want to pay towards that principal. There are some requirements for the credit union to even be able to process your loan. One of those is you have to become a member, and being a member is free. There are requirements as far as how much you need to keep in your accounts. Mine is like $20. It's not like commercial banks. Commercial banks have a various amount of requirements when it comes to a balance that you need to hold. You're also going to have to provide them proof of insurance. This I'll go into detail as far as what that is. It's not as simple as just showing an ID card. You'll also have to show them a purchase order of the vehicle. That I'll go into further detail later as well. Since I'm in California, the car has to be a California registered car. It cannot be an out-of-state car under 100,000 miles, a 2015 or newer, and cannot have been in any accidents. It needs to be a clean title vehicle. Your monthly payment is also in this process going to be explained to you too. I know step 2 seems a little lengthy. These steps are a little bit lengthy. It just sounds longer because I'm breaking them down for you, but these are basically the steps, y'all. I just want to be thorough. You're going to expect a call from a loan officer or a rep under the loan officer to finalize the loan process, to seal in that deal for you as far as your lending goes. Keep an eye on your phone after you submit your application because they'll probably call you right away. You're only submitting to one establishment, credit union, one credit union. So if you go through the credit union, so you won't be getting calls from all these different places. Also be cautious of that since there's a lot of scam calls. Just be cautious of what you share over the phone. Step 3 is the fun part. Step 3 is picking the car that you want to buy. As simple as step 3 may seem, it's science to picking the right car that you want to buy. I'm going to be discussing that in another video, so stay tuned for that. It's just as important as any other step. You are going to be eliminating things off this list. You're going to have to be making some hard decisions. Things like a color might not be as important as you thought they were. I myself even learned. Never once did I think I would end up with a white car. You want to take your time with this process because you don't want to fall victim to accidentally buying the wrong thing, developing buyer's remorse, all because you didn't take your time and do your due diligence and you rushed and purchased something that happens to be very, very expensive. So step 4 is fun. You're getting your hands dirty. You're going to be going to dealerships. I suggest that you find 1 to 3 cars that you're interested in online first. Don't waste your time going to the dealerships. Going to the dealerships are going to be really draining. You want to go to the dealerships when you know you have to and you're for sure and you've broken down exactly what you want and you've built your confidence to a point that they're not going to be able to tell you nothing. You know exactly what you want. So the dealerships are really going to test your gangster, and you have to be willing to walk away if things aren't right. Don't ever be too in love with a car. Like, they make so many of them, and honestly, if the car that you're looking for is really specific, they happen to not have that and it happens to not be on the market. I experienced that. One of my other options, then that just means that it's just not meant to be. During this process, you're going to talk numbers, negotiate, get things moving. This is a really, really serious part of the process. Unless you go to CarMax. If you go to CarMax, you can basically skip over this half of this process as far as the negotiating part because their sticker prices are as is. But if you go to other dealerships, this is where that negotiation takes place. When you pick your 1 to 3 models, you want them to basically be the same car. They may be the same color, they may be off by a couple of features, but you basically want it to be the same car because you want to be able to see how things are priced, if things are priced fairly. I highly suggest Car Gurus. You can look on cars.com, you can look on TrueCar, CarMax.
Ah, the ghetto! The ghetto!
You name it, there's so many outlets for you to search and find cars. You can even look on the manufacturer's website directly. You know, if you want certified pre-owned, because that has to be bought from the actual manufacturer. So there's just so many different things, you know, to consider when you're going through this process, but narrow it down to 1 to 3 cars because you do not want to be too confused. Step 5, this is when it's going to get hard. You're going to have to pick the car that you're going to buy. Me, I sound like a hypocrite because I was in between 2 cars at the very end, literally 24 hours before I made my decision, even though I already deep down knew which car I was going with, which is the car I ended up having. But you have to figure this out. And if you're too confused, then maybe you should wait, and maybe it's not time. You should not be confused. The choice should be clear. It will reveal itself to you if it's meant to be. Now, whether it's the deal, the amount of money, all these are things that are factors that should help you figure out which car you're going to go with. It could be your experience at the dealership, for God's sake. Those are all factors that you should use as a way to make your decision on whether you should buy that car at that dealership or not. Remember, you want your experience of buying your car, whether it's your first car or your 3rd car or your 5th car or whatever, you want that experience to be nice and memorable. You don't want to feel rushed. You don't want to feel pressured. If it doesn't feel right, I am going to tell you, and everyone else should tell you too, that it's okay to walk away. You don't owe these people. They need you. You don't need them. So as much as they might try to make it sound like you really need them, you really don't. They're not the only people you can get a car from, the car that you want from. There might be a better deal somewhere else. If you're treated wrong somewhere else, there's always better. I have been at signing tables about to sign my life away, and I have walked away. There is no point in the process that says you cannot walk away. You're about to make a big purchase. It needs to be right. After you pick that one car, everything has been made clear, you need to get a quote from insurance, okay? My quote is one of the first things that I did, and I kind of did it neck and neck with my lending process, but naturally, I understand why this would be step 6. You would have the VIN by this time, because that's stuff that's online. You don't usually have to ask for that stuff. So you're going to plug all that stuff in. Me personally, I have Geico. I can do everything online. I know other insurance companies are fully online, as well as you can give them a call if you want to, whatever you prefer. But I just want to let you know that that is a part of your reality of what you'll be paying every month. You might be able to afford the car payments, but if you can't afford the insurance, that means you can't afford the car. So that's just something to consider. I don't know about other states, but I'm a Californian. I'm a California resident, and in California, when purchasing a car, you have to have full coverage to leave the dealership. I believe that's across the board, but don't hold me to it. This is also something you could do at the dealership. There's going to be breaks in between you getting paperwork. They're going to have to talk to the financing guy, get things situated. You might take a water, a pee break, whatever. You could get your quote when you're at the dealership as well. If you want to be more prepared, I would suggest getting your insurance quote way before, because you don't want to be hit with a crazy number that you weren't expecting at the dealership. You just want to be fully prepared. You want to look fully prepared. You want to feel fully prepared when you go in there and you sign your life away. Step 7 is paperwork time. Get ready, y'all. This is going to be a lengthy part. I'm apologizing ahead of time. You want to let them know that you have your own lending. This is something that after deals and stuff have worked out, or if you're at CarMax, you're going to let them know right before you sign the paperwork, but you're going to let them know that you have your own lending. Do not let them boss you. I feel like financing through the dealership is the rookie mistake that no one should make. It is 2023. We know better, so we do better. Do not finance through the dealership. Terrible idea. You're going to be paying crazy interest rates, and that's just more money that they're taking that could be in your pocket. Dealerships are going to want you to finance through them because they make the most money that way off the sale by you getting their own financing or you financing through another institution through them. Regardless, don't let them talk you into it. If they're about good business and they do business well and they're not shady, they won't even force you. They'll respect whatever you say. Also, don't fall for the we can match the rate. Well, which rate did they give you? We could do better. Let's see. Those are hard ones on your credit. They're just going to get back there and just keep on pressing the button and keep on running your credit and send it to God knows how many institutions. It could be 1 to 5. It could be 5 to 20. You will not know. They'll just send you which one has the best rate for you and make it look like they only ran your credit that one time, when actuality you don't know how many times they ran your credit. Now, I suggest, if I could do it again, I would have not bought my car on a Sunday. I ended up having to do a couple more steps. So if you buy your car Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you're good. Sundays the banks are closed. So yeah, I'm about to get into that. But before I get into that, let's say you don't buy on a Sunday. Let's say you buy on the other days of the week. You're going to present a check from the bank if you're financing for the amount of the car. That is not including your down payment. Does that make sense? Let's say the car is $30,000 and you're going to put 10 down. The remainder $20,000, including taxes, licensing, everything that you plan on financing, that's the amount that the bank needs to write you a check for. And they know this. If you're like me, you purchase from CarMax on a Sunday. CarMax, I can't speak for other dealerships, but they have this thing. So they have 0% for 3 days APR if you get approved through their lending. Meaning, they buy you 3 days from the date of purchase, which is that Sunday, to go to your bank to get a check for the remainder amount and switch your lender to your lender that you already got approved for. So you temporarily be using their lender for financial and insurance and legal reasons, and then you'll be switching in those 3 days time for 0% APR. And it's a soft run on your credit. It would become a hard one after those 3 days. So if you go that route, you still have to give your down payment that day. I still had to present them with a check with my down payment that day. That other check, like I mentioned from the bank, since I had my own lender, was not having to be presented that day for me to go home with the car. Now, if it wasn't important for me to take the car home, I would just sign the majority of papers then and leave the car there and wait to present them with the check. If I didn't go through their lending, that's what I would have to do. So the bill of sale is something that you should get a copy of. That's something that I still have a copy of, and that's something that you're gonna have to provide to your lender, which Credit Union is my lender. You're gonna have to provide them that bill of sale. So the bill of sale shows the breakdown, taxes and licensing, warranty, everything, all the fees. It shows also your down payment. It subtracts that from the total cost of the car. So that remainder amount, including your down payment, lets them know what they need to write a check for exactly. They can't write a check based off of word of mouth. They need that bill of sale. In my case, Monday is when I went to the bank and presented my bill of sale to the bank. I was working with a representative, so that's who I did business with the whole time, which is the same person that called me and set up my loan and approval and went over all that good stuff with me on the phone. So that's who you're going to be communicating with as far as getting that bill of sale to them. I emailed it before I went into the bank and finished paperwork, so that's something that you could do. If the dealership says they can't, they're lying. they can. When I got that check from the bank, I finalized what day I wanted my car note to be. You could pick whatever day you want. Got a chance to see my monthly breakdown, which it went down significantly because my bill of sale was incorrect. That's another thing I'll talk about in another video as far as my overall experience at CarMax, purchasing a car through them. You also have the opportunity to add on any protections that you may have not gotten through the dealership, and the credit union, they have their own protections, and all that would do is be added onto your loan amount. So the only protection that I added on was gap insurance. I already purchased an additional coverage which covers anything electrical, all that and above, for 100,000 miles on my car. And I also had already manufacturer warranties, 2 separate manufacturer warranties from the previous owner that transferred over to me. So my car is covered through and through. They have mechanical breakdown. Of course, all, like, when you go into like protections and all that good stuff, that's another video in itself. I can go into detail as far as that goes, because you do have deductibles, and it can range between $50 to $1,000, like insurance itself. So those are just things to consider. Baby, I'd rather pay a deductible. That's just all I'm gonna say. At the time of purchase, if you're not undecided about warranties and all that good stuff, you don't have to make that decision right then and there. Now, I don't know how they incorporate it in your loan after, or if it's something you have to pay in whole after. I don't know. If y'all know, add that below for the people. Step number 8 is the last step. Step number 8 is insurance. So you need to make sure you have insurance if you're financing your car. They will not let you leave if you don't have insurance. Now, you can show them via the phone, or you can show them a paper as far as proof of insurance. Now, for me, I had to show them twice. I had to show the dealership once, and I had to show my lender that I stuck with, which was the credit union. I had to show them as well. If you have a policy already, this makes this last step real easy for you, because all you have to do is open that quote and apply it to your policy already. Either you're going to be removing a car in this process, or in my case, you're going to be adding a car to that policy. And what also you're going to do, if you already have full coverage, any coverage you had on your other cars, full coverage for example, it's just, you're just going to be like, I want full coverage for this car, and they going to lay out the price. Now, all this stuff, since I have mentioned you guys, I have Geico, so all this stuff is something that I could just plug in online. I never had to make a phone call to anyone throughout this whole process to Geico. So when you pick the dealership to finance your car, they're going to be loaded as the lien holder on your insurance. Now, you pay for the car cash, you're the lien holder. The car belongs to you, aka you getting a pink slip in the mail. And you're going to have to tell insurance, adding this car to your policy, that the lien holder is, for example, the dealership. So what I had to do, since I switched lenders, right? I used CarMax for their 0%, 3 days APR. I said that really weird, but I used them. So originally they were my lender, and they were listed as that before I left the dealership. On Monday, when I provided CarMax a check from my credit union, the credit union was now buying the car from CarMax. So they're the lien holder, and they're noted as the lien holder, the owner, the lender of the vehicle. You need to call insurance or go on the app again and update them and let insurance know, hey, CarMax is no longer my lien holder, my lender. Credit union is. Let them know. Ask the credit union what they're listed at, if they might have a acronym that they go by as far as being a lender. So take that into consideration and make sure you get that information from them. And you're going to update your insurance. And it should now automatically reflect like, hey, this is who owns the car now, technically. Until it's paid off, then it becomes yours. Credit union is going to want a declaration of insurance. That's what that's called, when you present your insurance to them to let them know, hey, you are listed here as the owner. now, the lien holder. They're not going to take your word for it. They need that, because if you don't present that declaration of insurance to them, they're going to automatically assume that the car isn't insured and you don't have your own insurance. So they're going to apply their own insurance, and that's going to be incorporated in your loan, and your monthly is going to go up, and it's going to be a crazy number that you don't even want to know. You don't even want to know what it probably is. I don't want to know. I don't know what it is, but I heard it's crazy. Ideally, you want to take care of it from now to the point of your first car note, usually 6 to 8 weeks from the day of you purchasing your car. I had the option of pushing it out 90 days, and that was presented to me. Credit unions have that option. I don't know if other banks, commercial banks do, but credit unions have that option. But you do have to qualify, and you have to have excellent credit. Otherwise, if you're not ranked in excellent, they will not grant you that. So that's another thing to encourage you to work on your credit. I just went with the regular protocol of the 6 to 8 weeks. It really wasn't that deep. Okay, so after you take care of that, you're done. You don't ever have to communicate ever again. As far as monthly payments and all that stuff, since you would be a member at the credit union, you're going to be able to see as far as your loan amount, your accounts there, and you can throw money into there however much you want to. Like I said, to get the loan amount down, is playing directly towards the principal. Otherwise, they're just going to count it as another car note if you're just sending in the money regularly. So that you're going to want to walk that into the bank, or you want to give them a call like, hey, pull this amount of money from my account to go towards my loan. I want it to go towards the principal of my loan. So that's how you're going to want to say it. But otherwise, you're done, okay? You don't have to talk to no other loan officers. You don't got to talk to no other dealerships. You can block all those weird people calling your phone, all the numbers. You're done. I appreciate you guys staying all the way through. If you stayed all the way through, I hope I broke it down as easy as I could. I made notes. Y'all, look at all my notes. I made notes trying to make sure that I didn't miss a beat, because I really wanted this video to be informative and thorough. I don't want you to have to go anywhere else for any of this information, okay? You don't need to fact check the fact, period. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next video, I'll see you guys next Thursday.